The brother asked, is evolution real?
Okay, bismillah. Jazakallah khair, bro. Very good question, yeah, mashallah. Okay, there's a few things you need to understand. It's going to be a bit long. Just tell me if you get confused anyway, I'll clarify, yeah? What's that? Okay, so do you understand what evolution is? Do you know that? Yeah? Okay, khair, he knows, inshallah. So basically, briefly, is what they say is that species evolved through over millions of years to the point where they developed, and then humans developed in the same way as well. Now, another thing about the scientific method, one thing was the how and the why, another thing is that it's limited, right? The scientific method is limited by something called induction as well, right? It's based on induction, yeah? Induction, and another thing is that in science class, in colleges and universities, they would never teach you this. They would just tell you to do the science. But science is based on induction, inductive reasoning, which means a scientist does observations, and then he comes to a conclusion. So he goes from a general set of data and he makes a specific conclusion. I'll give you an example, an analogy to put things into perspective. Imagine our brother here is a scientist. Yeah, he's just qualified. He's got his PhD in science, inshallah. Yeah, he's studying science, man. Yeah, mashallah, he's studying science, inshallah. So he studies science and he becomes a PhD and he becomes a researcher. Now he is commissioned to go and study how many birds, what the color of birds is in Southall. Yeah, and he's given a month. Okay, he goes into the parks in Southall and he sits there all day long with his sandwiches and his picnic pack. He sits there all day long observing birds. Yeah, and he's recording it. Bird 1 flies over, brown. Bird 2, brown. Bird 3, brown. Bird 4, brown. Yeah, he does this for a month, and his data shows all birds are brown, right? So what he does, he goes from this limited observation, which is only a month long. Say he observes 10,000 birds in a month. Yeah. He goes from his limited observation, which is limited, he hasn't seen all the birds, and he makes a general conclusion. All birds in Southall are brown. This is induction. This is induction, basically. So you go from a limited set of data, and you make a general conclusion. Yeah? Now, here's the problem. Can someone see the problem in this? It's general. There's always a possibility that the next bird is black, or the next bird is white, or the next 10 birds are white. It's possible, right? It's possible. This is the problem with induction. It can't give you 100% truth. It can come close to the truth, but it can never give you 100% truth. So as far as evolution is concerned, from this perspective, actually before, another thing you need to understand is that science is based on observation. Yeah? That's the whole method. You observe things, like the birds, you observe the birds, and then you make a conclusion. Yeah? Now, evolution is something that, if it happened in the past. Right? It happened in the past. And we only have a limited, as far as the data is concerned. I was speaking to a brother who's studying biology, he's doing his master's now in biology, and he told me that the data that you have in particular for evolution is very little, right? And you can't observe it right now because it's not taking place right now. It happened, it's in the past. Not only this, it's based on induction, therefore it can't give you 100% truth, right? So you can never have 100% truth, right? That's point number one. Point number two is that the evidence that they have, and inshallah, we're working on our brother, inshallah, brother Fawaz, inshallah. If you want more detail at the end, please talk to him as well. He can give you more information as far as the evidence is concerned. But he's going to be writing a paper, and if you make a note of this, if you go into London Dawah Movement on Facebook, on the Facebook page, there will be a paper that's up, inshallah, soon, in about a month or two's time, which addresses evolution and breaks it down in a very academic way, inshallah. But the point is that this evidence that's there is very little, and what happens is that there's an inference that's made. Now look, remember what Bertrand Russell said? He said observations and reasoning based upon it, right? So here's what they do. They've got fossil, yeah? They've got these fossils. Now what they're doing is they're looking at these and they're saying, let me see now. This fossil, maybe this fossil developed into this evolved into this, and this evolved into this. And there's huge gaps in between. Huge gaps, right? And they're inferring, so they're coming to a conclusion, they're inferring a conclusion. Doesn't mean it's absolutely true, right? Another beautiful point that Fawaz made was that imagine if Darwin, Darwin who came up with the theory of evolution, right? If Darwin never came up with this theory, right, and they just had this data in front of them, that's it, they would never be able to come to the conclusion that this evolved from this. See, this is the thing, it's presuppositions. If you presuppose that Darwin was right, then your bias is going to make you make that conclusion, right? But if that information wasn't there, it's very unlikely that it'll come to the information. So what he said basically, if you just solely go by the evidence of science, you can't definitively conclude that it happened or it didn't happen. There's not enough there. But obviously the ones who have an agenda, particular individuals like Richard Dawkins, they will tell you evolution is 100% true. Based on what? Based on what he's saying, that's it. And he even says in a video interview, and it's on YouTube, he says clearly that if your agenda is to cure religion, then you just have to make them believe that evolution is true. This is what he says. It's on record. There's a video on the London Down Movement YouTube channel refuting Dawkins in 1 minute. Brother Sabur, he goes through this and we play his clip and he says this clearly. This is his agenda. This is what he's trying to push down the throats of people. Doesn't mean it's absolutely true. Hopefully that clarifies that point, inshallah. Any other questions, inshallah?